This conference will now be recorded.
All right, it is now 6 p.m. on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, and I call this regular meeting of council to order here in the Winnipeg office. I respectfully acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Assininu nations, Dakota, Assiniboine, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous and Métis communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We remind all residents that our meetings are available on video on our website. Delegations can be scheduled through our CAO, and emails can be sent. Phone calls can be made to any one of us to get the facts on an issue. Introductions on the screen. We'll start with Councillor Axworthy.
Hello.
Coming to you live from Victoria Beach. And next, Councillor Chadsey.
Ian Chadsey.
Thank you.
I'm Graham Randall.
Penny McMorris.
Lon Turner.
All right, thank you very much. So we have a motion to adopt the agenda. Be it resolved, the agenda be adopted as presented. Any additions? Oh, sorry, mover. Thank you. Graham, second.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd
Erwin.
like to add an item to the agenda. I'd like to have a discussion about the Winnipeg sewage leak.
Oh. Just a discussion item, so that'll go under
See if we can't develop a bit of a.
You can put it back 8D, it's fine.
8D. All right, Steve, did you have your hand up? No? All right, Ian, you're good? Okay. Hearing nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Minutes of the February 20th regular council meeting have been circulated. Be it resolved, the minutes of the February 20th, 24 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? Thank you, Erwin. Ian, second. Thank you. Any comments, concerns, questions on the minutes, gentlemen?
They look satisfactory to me.
All right, hearing nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. All right. We are on to delegations, and our first delegation of the evening is our MLA, Wayne Owasco.
Great.
So nice to have you.
Thanks.
Thank you
for having me. Feel like I'm on a radio talk show.
Well, you might be. I could, move the
It's a BB
microphone.
blog.
Yeah,
Yeah. All 10 viewers out there. It's good.
you never know. We get a lot of views. So we, Erwin and I ran into you at the municipal forum, and you said you were making the rounds. So is there anything that you would like to start off with before we pepper you?
So no, I think what I'm trying to do is to have, I know that all the municipalities, so I have within the Lac Du Bonte constituency, I have 10 municipalities, 2 school divisions, 2.5 Ontarian colonies, 1 First Nations, and then 20 plus communities that are all large enough to have their own events and those types of things. So I just wanted to have a chat with municipalities, all 10 of my municipalities before session started, which starts tomorrow. And so we were able to log this one in. So good. I'd like to say check the box off. I'm not coming in with any major agenda items. It's basically have a conversation, and I'll say I already said hi to Ian and the rest of council. So Steve, nice to see you virtually. So yeah, I'm glad we could all attend. So I'm basically here to listen to what's new from your end. What types of things that are challenges, successes. I mean, I know that we had a chance to get together for a few things leading up to the fall election and our usual summer events happening at Vic Beach and within the municipality. So if there's any hot button topics that you are experiencing and either are looking for some clarity or anything moving forward, just making sure that now that I'm in the opposition side of government, that if there's anything that moves forward to the ministers, if I could at all be CC'd on, it would be greatly appreciated. If you feel that me being CC'd on a topic would be somehow put you in a worse position, if you would, somebody let me know of something, or let me get a copy of it, so that I am not passing a minister or a member of the government in the hallway and they say something about a topic that I know nothing about in one of my municipalities. So,
Okay.
and if there's anything that's being talked about or whatever, on the flip side,
Mhm.
I'll definitely make sure that I inform you and the rest of the council as well. So,
Okay.
One of the concerns that I've had for the last, since pre-COVID, was the fact that our medical first responders have stood down. I
right,
attended a number of seminars and sessions, and a year and a half ago, I was told that there was something in the works with respect to providing an opportunity for our fire first responders to become accredited without having to go through the extensive training program that's now being required by the College of Paramedics. That was a year and a half ago, and I haven't heard a peep since.
okay.
The issue in Victoria Beach, and in the case of just about every other rural municipality, is, the response times in the event of a medical emergency can be, in our case, it could be a minimum of a half an hour, it could be 2 hours.
Sure. Depending on where the trucks are and where
That's
they're
right.
coming
I
from.
mean,
Yeah.
if you've got someone in, one of the ambulances on its way up to Barons River or whatever, we'll wait for hours. So our fire department, many of our personnel have some medical training. And interestingly enough, if there's an automobile accident, the fire department will be dispensed. If we have a medical emergency, the fire department is not dispensed,
Dispatched.
dispatched. So,
I knew what you meant.
that's an issue that I would like you to keep,
Yeah.
the government's feet in the fire on.
No, for sure. And Erwin, I have to thank you for attending we also have the Northeast Met Health Committee.
Mhm.
And I know that you brought up a couple of the training sessions and we had found out recently at either the last one, I guess two meetings ago, right? What was the
Well,
doctor?
Dr. Gerson was supposed to be looking into it.
Dr.
I
Gerson,
haven't
right?
heard anything.
No, but he wasn't there the last time.
No.
I mean, I don't chair those meetings, but I, even when I was in opposition before and in government, I tried to attend those meetings so that I'm aware of what's happening within the
Actually,
Interlake Eastern
Those
Regional
committee
Health.
meetings have been extremely enlightening for myself.
No, absolutely.
I
And
think it's-
I encourage, I don't know if you're the only one who holds the portfolio on or the committee, but I encourage others to participate in those or at least get the minutes and read them.
Mhm.
It's my pet project on that committee.
Yeah, no, it's very good. And we found out from Dr. Gerson that a lot of the community members that have been told that they weren't able to practice. I don't know the exact terminology around that, but apparently they were supposed to be grandfathered. So
Yeah.
So
that never
he's
happened.
supposed to be looking into that, and I, definitely, if you get the answer before I do, or before the next committee meeting, let
I'll
me
let you
know,
know.
because I think that's majorly important to make sure that the community is
Well, it's very-
serviced as well as it can be serviced, I guess.
In summertime, we at least have our doctors, clinic functioning, and that helps. But, there are more and more people living down there on a year-round basis, and
Yeah, I
we're
think
at
we've-
risk. It's
I
just
think we've gone past the 400 stage on the permanent residence, so.
Oh, yeah, we have.
800.
Yeah. Are you at 800?
Not for-
No.
No, I
Well,
don't
they
think so.
call Victoria Beach principal residence.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, no, they'd be on the voters list. Sorry to talk voting.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
one of my concerns.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good, Erwin, for sure.
And one of my questions is the personal care home in Lackawanna.
Hmm. So I think the nice thing, I'll say nice thing, I mean, tomorrow we start into session with the new government. Again, we started in November. I'm interim leader now
Mhm.
of our party. So personal care home in Lackawanna. I don't know how many minutes we have right now to go over the whole story, but I think some of the timelines that are out there are incorrect. And as far as where the money has been or not been, and promises made, promises kept, and those types of things. I have a copy of the letter stating that the money went through Treasury and approved through Cabinet. The nice thing with the Lac Du Bonte Personal Care Home is that, and unfortunately, the other 5 locations that we had promised, Wabcanoe or the Premier at the time during the campaigning did not go to those other communities and say what he said in ours. So the nice thing with ours is that he said as well, campaigning, that if an NDP elected government came out of the election, that he would be seeing that the Lac Du Bonte Personal Care Home went ahead.
Oh.
So which is great, because I knew that we had promised it. We have the money set aside. So I'm playing nice in the sandbox to see if the pause will be lifted. We just found out that the budget will be April 2nd.
So that's what.
So I'm having faith that what he put in writing will be what, hopefully he's saying what he means.
Okay.
And then, so then with that, we're also working on different training avenues to get the personnel, because much like prior to the election, when I was education and early childhood learning minister, we could have technically built all the childcare spaces of the 23,000 in one fall swoop, but then you don't have the staff to fund it. So it's not a chicken and an egg, it's an egg and an egg. And you got to make sure that you've got some things put in place for training if you're going to fill these not only the spots for children, but if we're doing the personal care homes, we have to make sure that there's LPNs, healthcare aides, all the above type of thing. And so there is some training that is going to be starting in January of 2025 for LPNs in conjunction with Cinderborn Community College. But also in the meantime, we're also doing healthcare aid training within the region as well. So it's exciting. I think we're going to be ready with personnel.
Yeah.
And we just need the go ahead. It's too bad that it was put on pause.
Yeah.
Because the personal care home itself was originally estimated at about 28 million, ballooned to about 40 million. And our last estimates when we had promised it was about 66 million. And so if we paused, we didn't get some of the things going as fast as we would have liked to before the new year. But now we're looking at estimates of anywhere between 5 to 9 to 10 million extra just due to the new building codes of that for 2024. So yeah, so that's
an update.
yeah, we'll stay tuned and hopefully, like I said, it's on pause.
Have you heard anything more about the renovation of the Beausejour Fire Hall, turning it into a training facility? The same building code is causing the
Same building code, but one tidbit, when the training was first announced in conjunction with Interlake Eastern Regional Health Authority and ACC in the town of Beausejour, which then would bring in applicants or students to be trained, from all of about 60 mile, 100 kilometer hour, or 100 kilometer radius. So at the time, for some reason, and I don't have that answer, and nor am I going to say one way, I'm not throwing anybody on the bus. At the time, nobody thought of the occupancy code. Because the fire hall, it is sort of interesting because it does now fall under the Office of the Fire Commission, because they were going to change the occupancy code, even though there were firefighters, volunteer firefighters, plus meetings well over what we're going to have in the training facility. Now, because it falls under this new hope and dream for the fire hall in Beausejour, now it has to go to the Office of the Fire Commissioner. So the initial guesstimate as far as to upgrade the fire hall to bring it up to code and standards for the training to happen, because they've got the washrooms, it's a cinder block building, they've got window access, they've got extra doors, whatever. The guesstimate was anywhere between $60,000 to $150,000 at the worst. And now because of these other things, it could be as bad as 600, but they're waiting for some additional things on there. So I know that at the last, at the municipal meeting, I know that some of the talk around the table has also been about potentially asking the groups, and I'll leave that more so up to the Eastman training committee, I guess, to chime in on how they go about going to their municipalities and asking for a little bit of help as far as a regional school type of idea. But I'll leave that up to them. I'm still hoping.
It's a bit of a slippery slope.
It's a bit of a slippery slope because we're out of, that's not your realm,
It's not our
whether
area
it's
of
education or
responsibility.
training, right? That's not your responsibility. But this is also not something that's brand new, that has never been done before either. I know that there was a fund for some renovations. Now the committee's being told that no, there is no longer a fund, but that goes with the Building Sustainable Communities Fund. That goes with the Arts, Sports and Culture Fund.
Yeah.
So the Building Sustainable Communities Fund at one time was community places.
That's right.
With the whole basket of all those little funds, it was to the tune of about $6 million. So we had doubled that to 12 and then more than doubled it to 25 million. And then the arts, sport, and culture, which, I mean, Victoria Beach, if you talk about tennis courts, sportsplex, whatever, right? We've got some good coin out of those funds.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, and I know that from the community, from both permanent and seasonal residents, they're using it. Like, matter of fact, the tennis courts are labeled the #1 outside tennis. I don't know if that's self-proclaimed.
I think it's self-proclaimed.
But it was still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? Incredible. And I had the pleasure of being with you on that very hot day
Yeah, it was really nice.
to cut the ribbon on that. And I think it's just exciting stuff. So we're sort of waiting for this budget. They're 3.5 months from letting those two funding avenues released. I don't know what their thoughts are. I guess we're gonna find out in the upcoming budget, but then really it'll be too late for any kind of projects for this summer. So there were grants and opportunities in the past. So we'll see as we continue rolling along here.
Okay.
Good question on that. Not saying that there's any bad questions.
Well, you never know. Sewage is a bad question.
Sewage is a bad question.
What's happening
Boy.
with this spill that's drifting down the Red River into Lake Winnipeg?
So had that chat. I don't know if anybody follows me on Facebook or Twitter or X, I guess is what it's called now. Had a meeting with His Worship Mayor Gillingham. It was one of those pipes, I guess, that ended up breaking, and by the time they had a solution, and I mean, it just, I don't want to defend anybody. It's absolutely brutal for anybody upstream. And I mean, that has major implications to not only, the constituents on the east shore of Lake Winnipeg, but also, the whole lake. And I see in your agenda, you've got mitigating localized LJ blooms on the agenda. It's another black mark that we really don't need as a province.
Exactly.
And I know that we had committed, I say we, our party had committed a large sum of money in regards to the North End water treatment plant or pollution control center. Thanks for that. Yeah, I know, it's sort of changed the acronym a couple times.
Yeah.
But I mean, this didn't have something to do with that, but you know what, it's deferred maintenance. That I've said this for a few years since I've been minister, but it's deferred maintenance, things that are not sexy to fix, and it's not ribbon cutting, and it's not pictures, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be done. So whether it's ventilation systems, in schools or healthcare facilities or anywhere like that, or tarring roofs or new windows, air conditioning, whatever, this is again, something that should have been looked at a long time ago, and even the North End Pollution Control Center.
Yeah.
Thanks, I'm looking at you to
Close
help me
enough,
out on that
close
one.
enough.
That's been going on forever, right? And we've been having these conversations, and I don't quite fully understand why more of a priority on that hadn't been done in the past. But at the same time, it all comes down to money. And I think now we're all going to see, Manitobans are going to see, not only the city of Winnipeg, but Manitobans are going to see that they're going to be, the city's going to be coming, looking for more money from all three levels of government. So,
If that same event had taken place where there was a spill by a private company, there would have been hell to pay. This
Yeah.
one seems to be just kind of floating down the river. You know,
yeah,
I can't imagine what that lake's gonna look like in this summer if we have another hot season.
it's going to be horrendous. It's absolutely going to be horrendous, and I don't
The
want
lake's
to.
gonna turn green.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave here anybody thinking that we're not concerned about it just because we're not hanging from the ceiling and yelling. I'll tell you, I really don't know. I know that there's a motion out there or some discussion happening around fines and that. I mean, you know, I don't.
Who pays the
Get
fine?
fixed.
Well, that's sort of it, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't want to let the current provincial government off the hook or anybody, but I'm being realistic when we talk about those things.
There needs to be-
If they've got that type of money to put towards a fine, they should be fully repairing this stuff. And from what I understand, which isn't gonna help us today, but from what I'm understanding is that they are gonna have backups in place, so this type of delay in repair doesn't happen in the future. It's not helping any of us
No.
on,
The
upstream.
damage is done. I mean, from a purely engineering point of view, that there should be redundancy on critical infrastructure like sewage treatment.
Yeah.
I mean, we got 200 million liters of raw, untreated sewage going into our lake.
And so, you know what, I appreciate the question, and it's a tough go, and I'll tell you, growing up on a small farm for years and years and years, all I kept hearing was phosphorus overloading and blah, 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 and all I would see and hear is that we've got these pipes that they sort of just, from the city of Winnipeg, lets this raw sewage out, and now this is, I think this is catastrophic, this is absolutely horrendous, and I think there should be, and over time,
There needs to be an
And
independent
over
inquiry
time-
set up
well,
to review what
Well-
went wrong and make damn sure it doesn't happen again.
yeah, well,
Well,
I don't know what to say to that, or, yeah, I don't disagree, but even what went wrong, well, the pipe broke.
But what went wrong was there wasn't adequate engineering done.
Well, adequate engineering or enough checks and
Redundancy.
balances, a backup plan for what if.
Well, the unfortunate part is there's nothing we can do about it now.
Well, and that goes with the whole fines
The deed
thing,
is
and I'm
done.
not, I think it was Counselor not Counselor Edie, Wyatt, I think is putting something forward.
Okay. Yes, Ian had his
Steve's
hand
got a
up.
question, or Ian's got a
Ian did
question.
first, yeah. Go ahead, Ian.
Hi, Wayne. Maybe I'll just change the subject, give you a break. I have a question about daycares. It's not really related to Victoria Beach, but I have a question about daycares. And is the provincial government going to help out with some of these shortages? I know the federal government has a program in place. I know that pretty much every daycare that's on that in that program's got 300-400 people waiting to get on it.
Yeah,
I also have heard that people are signing up for it that don't even have babies, with the idea that when they do have a baby, maybe their turn will come up. So I'm just wondering if the provincial government's going to provide any solution to this.
so here's the solution, Ian. So, I had the pleasure of sort of coming in when we were finalizing the agreements with the feds on the Canada-Manitoba Child Care Agreement. I had also the pleasure of sitting at the Child Care Ministers table in British Columbia 2 summers ago on the topic. So we have in place or on the go over 12,000 new childcare spaces ready to go. But in addition to that, or alongside that, that takes me back to the whole egg and egg thing. We've also came up with a plan with the federal government, because of course you can't do anything unless you're both agreeing to something. So there was many conversations that I had with Minister Gould on the phone and in person. And matter of fact, the Prime Minister came out for one of our later announcements there as well. So here's the thing. So there was sort of a three-pronged approach. So first of all, you have to make sure that who's working in the system, you have to make sure you're retaining them. So you want to make sure that people, that we're not losing them to the healthcare field or to educational assistance field in the education field. So one of the major things was improve and increase in wages. Manitoba is is the only place in Canada that has a pension plan for early childhood educators. And so with that, to make it easier, not necessarily easier, so I'm not saying that we've lowered the bar on experience or expertise, but when I say easier is that if we have a childcare assistant, which is a 40-hour course, which if you take Family Studies 40S, which is a course at high school, that's a component of it. So you come out with childcare assistant certificate. So we had done this Made in Manitoba plan, and which other provinces are copying to, we're just watching Lon, just in case somebody's coming through the door.
Excuse me, yeah.
It's okay,
Right
Lon's
on the
bigger than
street.
I am, so help me out. No, so we want to make sure that those students or professionals could go from a CCA to an ECE, early childhood educator, 2 or 3, with subsidies to get them into education, so that it makes it almost free. So it's $5,000 per student per year of education. So all but one program in Manitoba is a 2-year program besides the University of Winnipeg. And so that's a $10,000 price tag per student to help them with that. And so we were also working on, I mean, we're going to see what other plans are coming out with the new government, of course, but I can't see them changing too many of the things that we were already doing, because it was proving to be successful. And you're right, large wait lists, whether that was the provincial wait list of like 13,000 spots. So like I said, we were well underway for that. 12,000 had been committed, over 12,000. So we were over 50% of the way to 23,000 by 2026, 2027. So
you're suggesting there's another 12,000 coming?
Well, 11,000 if they stick with our plan and the agreements that we had signed with the federal government, another 11,000 spaces. That being said, part of the 12,000, and I'm just going to say it because it is what it is. So we had planned another 9 schools, brand new schools, which every school being built now is going to have an early childhood education component tied to it, of a minimum of 72 spaces, 74 spaces. So the current government has, you know, and I'm not even going to say pause, because they've said it in the news that they've canceled those 9 schools, which equals to about 660 daycare spaces, child care spaces. So I'm assuming April 2nd, and you know what happens when we assume anything, so I'm going to be careful with that one. Come April 2nd, I'm hoping that there's going to be some kind of plan, because I have not seen a plan on that besides what I know in the Canada-Manitoba agreement and the Made in Manitoba plan that we had. The nice thing is that I know that some of the people that helped develop that plan, working alongside, you know, myself for 1.5 years, some of those individuals are, I believe, are still employed in the department for now. So hopefully they're listening to some of the experts. So thanks, Ian, for that. Hopefully that answers, I don't know.
The only comment I would make then is, if whoever you're talking to, whoever's running this program, if they could just insist that the people that are taking the names for the list somehow confirm that people actually have a baby. Because, if you're 16 or 17 and you're putting your name on the list because you think you're going to get married and you think you're going to have a baby, obviously you're taking a spot on the list. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I'm hearing. That's what
yeah,
I'm
no,
hearing from
you're
a
not
number of
wrong.
people.
That's what sort of, I don't want to say is funny, is so, it tells you the type of situation we're in the province, and I don't want to, give the new government a talking point, but this is something that's happening all across the country as well, and
Right.
that's exactly they're going and they're, the new couples, the new families are going and they're putting their name on lists with the hope that they're going to have a baby in the next few years, and yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but it's also reality.
Well, you can see the difficulty if you are just married and you have a baby. You've got 2 years or 3 years where you need a daycare, and of course they're $45, $55, $65 a day. It's not practical for a lot of couples.
No, it's not practical on some of the private daycares, but in Manitoba, and again, not to give the current government any talking points, it's unfortunate that I know the file just well. I mean, we brought in $10 a day daycare, and I mean, that dropped the amount of money that parents had to do significantly. And, I saw the now government, so they're gonna have to change their tune, because I saw the flip flop on that topic probably about 3 or 4 times in about the same amount of time that I was as minister. And I mean, that being said, yeah, you went from $33 a day for a child to $10. I mean, that's a significant savings. And this day and age, when we're talking about affordability and everything else, I mean, it's definitely was helping. But that being said, wasn't necessarily helping the people that still needed daycare spaces. So we need people, and we need to retain who we've got in those positions. So that's why the increase in wages. But I mean, it wasn't done there either. I mean, there's going to be some more, or I'm assuming if the current government carries on with the plan, they're going to see more wage increases for the staff to retain more and hopefully encourage more people to come into the profession. Because I mean, I'm a teacher by profession, and whether it's early childhood education or K to 12, I left it when I was loving it. As a matter of fact, Steve's a teacher, so yeah, it's a very rewarding profession for sure.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I was a teacher myself at
Oh, okay, sorry.
But I'll leave it there, and thank you very much for taking my comments.
Where were you teaching? Sorry to take a sidebar, because there's people here waiting to.
Oh, I was teaching accounting at Red River College.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve, did you have a question or, okay?
Well, I didn't get to say the points that I was concerned about. I mean, when it comes to Lake Winnipeg, I'm pretty sure I don't need to remind you that we were able to pass a resolution at the AMM calling for the province to start holding the city to account, which was, sort of hinted at that was going to be the case. But of course, Winnipeg's gone away with multiple dumping since. So I expect that, given that the chickens have come to roost, of which more than 80 or 90% of the rural municipalities in this province asked for the province to start holding Winnipeg account, that it's finally going to start happening. That would be the biggest thing in the short term that I think that we can all say that we're expecting from the government. I understand that fines, nobody likes them, but the bottom line is that they've been able to get away for decades with polluting the lake, knowing what they were doing. So enough is enough is enough is enough is enough. And everybody's been championing that. Our residents are out every single summer calling for action, and nothing's been done. So the reality is that the province has known that this was going to happen, and it happened. Yeah. So as much as I know that we don't like fines, they need to start getting punished for what they've been doing. But I'd also say that they're only responsible for 5 to 10% of the actual pollution of the lake. There's also the success story that they had in Saskatchewan, which was to start putting in a holding ponds along the drainage system.
Yeah, Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Steve, on a few of your points that you made here for sure. Representing, a large ag sector of Eastern Manitoba, I'm with you on the retention ponds. I've had that discussion since I used to, basically ride the tractor in the combine on our own small farm, and that's just it. What would happen, right? You've got a 80-acre field and you've got, I don't know, 4 acres of a low spot. So what would you do in a dry year? You'd hurry up, get out there and go with a brush mower, cut down the weeds, and trench it to the ditch. Well, 3 or 4 acres nowadays, we're not talking 25 bushels an acre back when my dad was still farming and I was driving the tractor. We're talking, 80 to 100 bushels an acre now with $300 an acre inputs. To be able to seed that land, that even if it was 3-4 acres, it's a big chunk of change. So yeah, there should have been, could have, possibly could have been some compensation to those farmers to just, hey, you know what, keep it as a low spot, keep it as a retention pond, and we'll try to compensate you to some form of degree. So I don't disagree with you on that at all. I would disagree with you about the 6 to whatever % you mentioned in regards to the nutrient loading in the lake. I think there's definitely, like we've been saying for years, and many of your constituents are permanent residents of the city of Winnipeg. So it would be interesting to hear everybody's standpoint on that, whether these fines, because somebody has to pay these fines, and whether you're doing it through taxation or whatever, I don't know. I mean, there'd be some, like you said, roosters are coming home to rest. I mean, I think, and I don't think this topic's done. I think it's definitely, there's going to be more discussion on it. So it's not that I'm being quiet on it whatsoever. I'm matter is all heck. I just don't quite know, after the sewage is flowing down, how do we, the fines and whatever else.
Yeah.
I don't, you're right. There should be some implications. I just don't know what those are just yet. So.
Yeah. Just more for Victoria Beach. We need a new fire truck and we need support in that. I know that Irwin's been chatting this up, but the insurance requirements for fire trucks, and that it is based on age rather than actual use, it really hurts, especially rural communities who don't have unlimited budgets. So that's something that we need as soon as possible, as well as the suppliers of the gear. We're required to get our gear from only a select few distributors, and that seriously hurts rural communities because the cost of the supplies far outweighs what the actual expenses to those companies. So they're making a lot of money off of rural communities, and it's costing us badly. So that's another thing that's directly affecting our budget lines whenever we have to restock our materials. I just have a couple more points here, so sorry, just bear with me since we have this opportunity.
Yeah, you're on a roll.
Yeah, when it comes to rural healthcare, I mean, we've basically been largely ignored, and as Irwin was sort of mentioning previously, really abandoned, especially in recent years. So one of the things that should be called for and hasn't, unfortunately, is to ensure that the monies that are earmarked from the federal government to the provinces specifically for healthcare stay in healthcare and are not redirected to other areas. So that's something that I know that a lot of people have been sore on for a while, and that might actually be able to help us with our healthcare problems. In terms of education, we have students, and I've also been able to hear from some of them that they're very concerned about this, which is to basically continue to defend Indigenous issues in education, but more so than that, to lay off the LGBTQ2+ community, and that under no circumstances should teachers be forced to disclose to parents the preferences of their students. It's just nobody's businesses other than the student. That's something that came up in the last election, which a lot of my students were terrified of because it can cause serious harm to the students themselves. And then the last thing is that while we're paying off the surprise deficit projected to come in at $1.6 billion, which is 4 times more than what was expected, that we do everything that we can to ensure that while we're trying to pay off this enormous surprise debt, that means that it doesn't come at the expense of rural municipalities, because we need that support.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
Yeah,
I don't know how much time everybody's got.
Yeah,
Well,
sure. Again, I apologize. Those are just the points that.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it short, so I'll
No.
touch base on a couple things just quickly. So Steve, fire truck, absolutely, and equipment. I think that's where AMM, we need to have a strong voice from our smaller rural communities, because you're right, we're being asked to upgrade or buy new fire trucks when they've got, I don't know, less than 25,000 kilometers on them, and they're anywhere between $350,000 to $600,000 per truck, depending on the bells and whistles. Yeah. Oh, what's your
Yeah.
estimate?
We're hearing anywhere from 725 to 850.
Oh, you must be getting the truck that South Whiteshell received.
I don't know.
That's a 4-wheel drive plus everything. It's just got absolutely everything on it.
I don't know.
But no, definitely, there's huge challenges there. And I think part of the problem is you can't argue safety. Well, when does common sense come into it as well? I don't want to say that the challenging safety is common sense or not. It's a tough one, right? But it is going to hit your bottom lines, because in order to make sure that your volunteer firefighters or paid firefighters, salary firefighters are safe, they're also pushing to make sure that they have the right equipment. So if you're willing to stand up, Steve, and put your name on there and say that you're going to take the punch in the nose for it, then I think you'll have some backers. But I mean, until you decide to do that, I think, it's a tough one. And so that's why I think AMM should continue pushing that. Rural healthcare dollars. So I have to say that our former premier sat on the minister's, the premier's advisory council that actually sat and chatted with the federal healthcare minister and the prime minister to get more dollars. It's nice to know that after the election that those dollars came finally to Manitoba after all that hard work. $1.6 billion. So you're saying, so these are unaudited finances, and it's a projection.
Okay.
So we got $3 billion in promises coming from the current government. So, Steve, you and I can maybe have a conversation after if you want. I'm not going to take up everybody's time here. And if you want to get into talking about education, and I'd invite Ian to be part of that as well, as far as, because I was education and early childhood learning minister, and I know for a fact from many years of teaching, and I mean, Ian, I'm not going to do ageism, but I'm assuming you taught for a few more years than I did. I think the biggest thing that teachers want is to get parents more involved in their kids' education. And I think to say that that it's nobody's business but the kids themselves, I think is doing a disservice to not only those kids, but also to the parents. And Steve, I don't know you all that well, whether you've got kids of your own or not, but I tell you, Steve, my wife and I, Tracy and myself, were involved in our kids' education on a day-to-day basis for many, many hours. And I would take exception to what you shared in regards to some of the views of those parents and those kids. And I was also a guidance counselor for 8 years. So I worked with many students that had challenges having those tough conversations with their parents. And out of all those conversations, I only had one that I had to ask for some outside supports coming into the school to help. So I think the more involved parents are with their kids' education, the better. And that goes
I wouldn't disagree with that, but when I have students coming to me scared,
I don't want to take up this council with that. And I definitely invite Ian if he wants to be part of the conversation. I don't mean to throw you in there, Ian, but definitely, Steve, you and I could have that discussion. And the nice thing with democracy and everything else in the great province of Manitoba and Canada is so it's okay that we have different opinions on these topics. So thanks for bringing those topics up at the RMA Victoria Beach Council meeting.
Thank you very much. Graham, do you have anything, or can we let Mr. Iwasko go?
Well, I don't want to belabor the sewage fiasco, but Erwin and I are chatting about it. You've spoken of fines and this and that and the other. I mean, really, somebody needs to be held accountable. Some people need to be fired or jailed or whatever. I'm
No, I understand
exaggerating a
what you're
little
saying,
bit, but do you have any advice to us? And we'll be meeting with the Council of the Arm of Alexander this coming weekend, where we get together a couple of times a year on mutual issues. And this subject's going to come up. Where could we, in cooperation with other municipalities, apply pressure to help make sure that doesn't happen again?
Well, and I think, thanks Randall for that, and to everybody who's chimed in on the sewage piece. I think the biggest thing is how do we, there's no 100% guarantees out there, first of all. And I think how do we make sure that I guess all levels of government are there to make sure that we're protecting our citizens here in Manitoba, but then, you know, we've got visitors coming in as well that are going to experience this lake, which is, it's horrendous, right? This is going to be a horrendous. So I think, I mean, definitely we could have conversations with you know, municipal relations critic, but then I also strongly encourage that, you know, Minister Bushy is the minister that's in charge of municipalities within the province. And I think it's to keep that open dialogue as far as what is going on, right? I mean, you know, there's various things that are going to be asked, whether it's fines or, like you said, somebody being held accountable. Absolutely, there should be somebody held accountable. Somebody's got some kind of job title somewhere that's supposed to be in charge of this stuff. It's tough. So advice, I mean, you're going to be speaking to the Arm of Alexander, which of course has some of the other cottage country along the east side of the lake. You're going to be speaking to the Arm of St. Clements and the city of Selkirk. And I think
St. Andrews.
and say thank you. Well, yeah, that's right. St. Andrews as well. That's right on the other side. Thanks. I think it's to get a bit of a, here's the municipal, and Don Otter and on the other side, Gimli, Winnipeg Beach. So I think it's got to be sort of a collective case. So what are we doing about this? And so then if we go to the, you know, as Steve mentions, you know, find the city of Winnipeg. I'm not just saying Steve. I mean, there's other people saying this, but then it's non-permanent residents who are seasonal in our municipalities that are gonna have to see this on their bills, on their permanent resident bill somehow then.
Yeah.
So what do people want to see? And then what are we doing with that money, right? So it's making sure that it just doesn't go to general revenue somewhere, that it's being directed specifically to fix this issue. And is it on the taxpayers of the city of Winnipeg? It might be. And I guess time will tell. And like I said, I don't think this topic's not, it's far from
No, it's
done,
not going away.
right? And I think as you sit here as council members, I mean, you're here advocating and representing your ratepayers. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Randall, for that. Yeah, for sure. I think the collective group, and to, you know, much like we have done on the east side of the lake with the municipalities and with the Northeast Men's Health Committee and that, we've written, and even when I was in government, the committees have written to the ministers and saying, look, we're looking at this and we're demanding answers or asking questions on these different topics. So get us some answers and keep us in the loop, because we're all partners in this.
Okay. Good time. All right, gentlemen, anything else for Mr. Iwasko? I think we've kept him long enough.
It's all good.
Okay,
Thank you for coming in.
Get ready for tomorrow.
I know.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's been
Thank you
great.
guys.
In 5 years, this is the first time we've had an MLA come and speak with us.
Is that right?
No, don't say that. No, I've been up at meetings.
No, but this first time at council meeting.
Oh, I thought I came and sat in the chambers in Big Beach.
Oh, that was.
Up at the social team.
community
Anyway.
features.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'm glad you
I
made,
appreciate the
It's good to
thanks.
get the feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it-
no, it's good, it's good, and I'm hoping to do this a couple times a year, plus that the.
Municipal forum,
The thirdly,
the municipal forum.
yeah, the municipal forum, 2 out of 3 I'm able to make it, the other one usually they're in session. So, yeah,
Bring
so thanks,
donuts.
everybody.
Thank
Bring
you.
donuts next time.
Donuts next time, okay, I will. Why, have you heard from other councils that about donuts?
Uh-oh.
Okay,
Oh, but we'll-
then forget what I just said.
Yeah. We'll be letting them know. Thanks very much.
Just don't talk to them.
Okay.
No,
Thanks very much.
I'm joking. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody on the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of donuts.
That's okay, it was very interesting, you got more than attention.
Yes, he did. Yeah, yeah. We gave everyone a chance. Thank you. All right.
Doors locked.
Okay, so. Yeah. All right.
Sean's here.
Sean Taylor, I thought was he on screen perhaps? Ian's pointing. I don't see him.
Yes, he is. I can see he's
Oh,
on the
there we
screen.
Okay, there we go. All right, Sean, sorry for the delay. If you're available, you now have the floor, sir. You were going to talk to us about mitigating localized algae blooms. Please go ahead.
Maybe he left.
Sean, are you there?
Your audio's turned off, Sean.
I think he stepped away.
Okay. Well, we can come back to Sean if he does come back up. I'd like to
Yeah.
keep moving. So up next is a public hearing for a variation 2024/001. So we have a motion, be it resolved. Oh,
I have the public hearing first.
pardon me,
and then
you're
we
right.
can-
I've even got notes to that effect. You're right. Sorry, I'm a lot, sorry. All right, so I will open the public hearing for variation application 2024/001. This is an application to vary the minimum frontage requirements for a new deck from 30 feet to 12.6 feet. Drawings and explanations have been provided to council for review, and per the Planning Act Part 6, information was sent out to the neighbors. So upon receiving an application, council is obligated to hold a public hearing, which we are doing now, to receive representation from any person who has an interest or a comment on this project. Letters, emails, public presentations qualify. So proper process was followed by the applicant and the RM according to the Planning Act and the variation applications. So I will open up the hearing and ask if there is anyone who would like to speak to the variation.
I had a question. What location is this?
It's on McCord,
15 report.
15 McCord, which is up in, off of Macaulay on the water side.
Oh, I see, on the water side, okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. I didn't know if it was going onto the highway.
No, and it's a new build, and the deck, they're just requesting that the deck be less than the 30 feet minimum from the property line.
I'm actually
And-
fine with that.
All right, and in the documentation that was sent out, there is public reserve in front. And there's very little concern from the old, but nevertheless somewhat relevant Baird report that states this is not a concern for this area.
Great. I'm fine with this.
I was just going to say the office received multiple comments from the 17 mailouts that we did for this variation, and they were all in favor of the variation.
And we didn't receive any negative feedback.
Not that I know.
Okay.
I tend to look at these in terms of who is harmed. And I don't see anybody being harmed by our approval of this variance.
All right. Any,
I've reviewed the material and it seems to be in order, and I agree with your comment. No one's objecting to this amendment, and seems reasonable.
Okay. Steve, do you have any comments on this variation?
No, I mean, it's pretty much the same. The Baird's fine with it, and we haven't received anything from anybody saying, don't do this, or they don't have any objection at all, then that's fine in my books.
Okay. All right, so is there any further discussion on this topic?
There was mention in the application of some discussions with the geotechnical engineer. Can you comment on that? What were the comments from the geotechnical engineer?
I can, yes. Should I come and?
Sure, it's just easier to hear.
Okay. Hi, I'm George Sibinell, Sibinell Architecture, and our firm was engaged by the owner who was here this evening, and then of 15 McCord. And we engaged a geotechnical engineer to do a survey of the property for foundations, and we asked the engineer specifically to comment on the area where we're proposing the deck and whether it would have any impact and how to mitigate it if that was the case. And the comment that we received is on page 4 of the geotechnical engineer's report. It's just a small paragraph stating that the cottage and the corner of the deck is beyond 25 meters from the, I believe it's the
High water mark?
no, it's the edge of the drop off of the bank, top of the bank. And he commented that anything beyond 20 meters wouldn't be a problem. So he also indicated, the type of foundation that should be used.
I don't think we saw that.
No, I didn't.
The copy of the, I have a copy with me. I can leave it with you.
That's okay. You had it, correct?
I don't think I got it. No. Did you
Okay,
send it to
well,
us?
I do have it, yeah. And
Okay,
it was
good.
submitted with the variance application.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there is public reserve in front of there as well.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
So
Okay.
with that and the fact that we aren't cutting any trees down for the deck, sadly, we're cutting trees down for the rest of the cottage, but we couldn't find any reason not to. We asked the neighbors, couldn't find an objection, and so we applied.
Seems to be in order.
I don't have concerns.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, George. All right,
Just
Go
for file purposes of, Lon, if you could obtain a copy of the
I will,
geotech
I'm
statement
surprised.
and make sure that it's part of this package.
Oh, that-
Yeah,
yeah, I remember seeing that.
Okay, we got it now.
Can I keep this or you want me to copy?
we can keep it, yeah.
okay, thank you. All right, is there any further comments on this application, gentlemen? Anyone else wish to speak to this application?
No, I just wonder if you have a public hearing for a deck.
Because it's a variance.
But you won't have a public hearing. You'll give us this opportunity to do something bigger. It's interesting that what the difference is. One time when you asked us if we could talk, with them to say details, basically.
Well, this is a public hearing, so yes, you can speak at a public hearing on this matter.
But what makes this a public hearing?
It's the variance process under the Planning Act.
Okay.
Our zoning bylaw requires that you have this sort of a public hearing for.
You're welcome. All right, so hearing nothing further, I'll close the public hearing on the variation and we'll move to read the resolution on the matter. So be it resolved to approve, variation application 2024/001, varying the minimum frontage requirement for new deck construction with respect to the property lot 05, block 01, plan 10491, 15 McCord Drive as follows. In seasonal resort district, front yard minimum deck from 30 feet to 12.6 feet. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second? Steve, thank you. Any further discussion, gentlemen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much. All good. Thank you for coming.
I'll email you an order.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
You're not going to stick around for the rest of the exciting meeting?
No, I'm going to the Jets game. So I'm not to cheer. Good night, everybody.
Nice to see you. Thank you. All right. Should we see if Sean Taylor has arrived? Sean, are you available? Sean Taylor, are you available?
Do any of you guys have his text or phone number? I don't have his personal.
Ron, if you can
He'll
hear
come
us,
back. He'll come back at some point.
we can see that your audio is turned off, Sean.
Okay, well, we'll come back. Hopefully he'll come back.
Okay.
I'll keep moving. So we're moving on to accounts and finance. Be it resolved, the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Checks 12034 to 12064 in the amount of $78,852.94. Credit card charges of $3,452.75. May I have a mover? Thank you, Ian. Second, Steve. Thank you. Ian, do you have any comments on the financials?
Just a couple. You mentioned the amount, the 82,305. The people that were looking for the golf superintendent, that was about $7,000 or $7,900. So that's a total of 10 that was paid to them. RSL Electric put a new heater in. I don't really know where that heater went. Do you know, Lon?
Yeah, Victoria Beach water plant.
Oh, the water plant? Okay, thanks. RM of Alexander, the waste was $7,800. The fire department repaired a SCBA mask for $5,000. And then we had a legal bill from MLT Aiken for a public lane for about $4,800. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
It was a light month.
Okay. Any comments or questions, gentlemen? All right, thank you, Ian. Hearing nothing further, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Once again, Mr. Taylor, are you with us?
Well, it looks like Sean has left now, eh?
I'm sending a note to his dad.
His window just said that he left. Just letting you know.
All right, well, maybe he'll come back.
Oh, just with the next item, 7A,
Yes,
I should have at the beginning, that I've added a resolution for this one. At the time that I created the agenda, I didn't have a
Okay.
quote from ENGTech. I meant to add that at the beginning. I apologize. So there's a resolution attached with 7A. No,
do you have a resolution?
I do.
All right, so this is business arising from the previous meeting. Initial assessment of sand volume post protection for South Connaught. Be it resolved to approve a spring survey for topographic survey drafting and a letter by ENGTech as follows. King Edward and Alexandra, 2,400, Connaught Beach, 2,400, for $4,800 plus GST. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second, Ian, thank you. Any discussion, gentlemen?
I think the purpose of this is to establish sort of a baseline of data about what the actual situation is with the shoreline and to monitor it going forward so we can have some empirical to confirm what may in fact have changed
Yes,
over time.
and to commit to our promise that the ongoing works would be monitored by a licensed and approved authority.
Did anybody move it? Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Erwin moved it, sorry. And
Steve seconded it.
Ian,
Ian, sorry.
I think.
Right.
All right, any further discussion? So they'll do this, both of these in the spring, right?
Mhm.
When the,
So is it- yeah.
right. Okay, that's great, thank you. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. I'll ask once again, Mr. Taylor, are you with us?
He doesn't have a window open, so if he joins, then we can let you know.
Okay, we can't always see if his window is open, so if one of you see it, can you please let me know?
Yeah, I saw his window. It said that he was leaving, so we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. All right, new business, 8A, custom work on public property. Be it resolved to approve application number 2024/002 for custom work on public property. May I have a mover? Thank you, Steve. Second, Graham? Thank you. Council received this information, permit form filled out by the property owners. It is to update and repair a private revetment that has existed since 2010 on Sunset Boulevard. And they will be using their own property for access. And they would like to get the project underway. So you all saw the information, I trust, the application form.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, any concerns?
So this is a repair.
This is a repair.
This is very similar to the application and the permissions that were granted for Wanasing Beach to armor the face of the dike. It's not exactly the same, but it's closely related.
Steve, go ahead.
Just to clarify, it's not to armor. It's already armored. It's just to repair the armoring that was already done.
Yeah, it's a repair to an existing revetment. It was put in February 2010, I believe.
I have no issue with it.
All right. Hearing nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Okay. And now we are moving on to a proposal to subdivide. Be it resolved, to conditionally approve the application for the proposed subdivision file 4198-24-7768 as per the following, that the variance orders be obtained as necessary to ensure compliance with the zoning bylaw 1969 planning scheme. And 2, that an easement agreement for the shared access onto PTH 59 be registered on the title of proposed lot 1 and lot 2, and that be obtained. Pardon me. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second. Steve, thank you. Again, council has received the information, the package from the province. So you know that this is, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Sorry, I was putting my hand up for when we have a discussion. I apologize.
Okay. I was just going to say that this application is to subdivide almost a 5-acre piece of property, private land that fronts onto Highway 59, and they want to divide it into 2 lots. They were sent all the required paperwork for the subdivision to Manitoba Planning, who reviewed it, circulated it to their agencies and utilities. The application is to change the proposed site width of proposed lot 1 from the minimum requirement of 150 feet to 94.7 feet. And lot 1, this lot is still over the required 1 acre. Proposed lot 2 is 3.4 acres with a 257.8 foot site width. And they will share the access road, and according to the conditions, an easement has to be registered with land titles on the property, so they can both use that road. Because as we know, highways won't allow another access off of Highway 59. So
Which property is this?
It's referred to as Airtona on the road going into the gate.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Irvin. What'd you say?
The property is referred to, if you drive off 59 before you get to the gates on the south side, there's a property described as Airtona. It's a 5-acre lot, and what the owners want to do is subdivide the property so that perhaps at some point in time in the future, they can sell off one.
Yeah, no, I understand what they want to do. I just wanted to understand where it is. Is it the one where the lady used to sell flowers, or which property is it?
No.
That's on Atia Road.
No, she's on
No,
59.
that's on 59. And
Is
then
it-
there's is it the All Right building? Is that the property?
Pardon me?
Is it All Right construction?
No,
Further down from there.
no.
Further west from there.
So
Between
is
the-
it that little white house then that,
No,
just-
No,
That's immediately to the west. You're getting close, in between the two.
in between? I'm just trying to think of the house that's there.
It's way back. You can't see it.
you can't see the house.
Oh, I
Across
see.
from Beaches Community Center, east, a couple hundred yards maybe.
Yeah.
On 50.
Got it. Okay. Sure, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to know where it was.
Yeah. Okay, so any other concerns or questions on this resolution? They will have to come back to us with a variance.
Correct.
Correct? If that's one of the conditions. Go ahead, Steve.
So we would be granting a conditional.
It's a conditional. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
So that, you know, I'm like Mr. Anti-Development, some people will call me, but like looking at this, the one thing that I can't understand is, and I suppose maybe it's where that driveway is right now, but I don't understand why the property lines are so weird. I mean, like we have a
It follows the
difficult
lane.
enough, sorry?
It follows the lane right down to where it veers off because there's a house on each property. And there's kind of a
Yeah.
turning point where the lane breaks off. So that's what the reason they did that was to make sure the lane, half of each lane would be on each lot, and where it breaks off, they could do those easy. I know it looks goofy.
Yeah.
Like I just, like, for me, I think, and that was again my assumption, but I think of the issues that we have inside of the VRA with the property lines, and it's like, you know, we tossed in the road, and it turns out that our road is on some properties, and then, you know, it sort of veers all over the place, and it's like, okay, well, roads move, and the border drives me nuts. So I know that's not mine, but it's just looking at it, it drives me a little crazy.
Well, the problem is with, they will not allow another access off the highway, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
The owners had two choices. They could build a new road, which might be straight, and then split it, or they're choosing to have kind of a jog in the boundaries to match the existing road.
Yes. And this has been vetted by everybody from Manitoba Hydro to Bell MTS to there's a long list of letters attached from including resources and environmental. So
Looks like Sean is back, just to let you know.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, good.
looks
Um,
okay to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at page 1 of the Municipal and Northern Relations information sheet, it talks about what is currently on both lots. And then further on it, a little bit, it talks about why they want to divide it the way they do.
Yeah,
It's Victoria Beach.
yeah.
All right, any further discussion on this subject? All right, hearing nothing further on this resolution, then all those in favor? Opposed?
I'm so in the middle. I gotta go opposed because Yeah.
You're opposed to this, Steve? Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. And
Just to be clear, I'm fine with the subdivision. It's just the border I can't get over. I'm sorry.
That might, well, no. That
okay,
seems straight.
all right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Passed. Okay, I've lost. Sean Taylor, are you with us again? I know. Sean, are you with us?
Sean, you gotta unmute yourself. There.
Yeah, I
There
do.
he is.
Oh,
Turn your camera on, Sean.
there you go. Nice to have you with us, Sean. Sorry for the delay.
Oh, no worries.
All right, so go ahead, sir.
So I guess just as you finished discussing in great detail for the last, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. Last month we saw, I think it was like 228 million liters of raw sewage going to the Red River, and it's making its way to Lake Winnipeg. And in light of this, I thought I'd just, I don't know, spend a few minutes talking about it to address a problem we've been facing for, I guess, many decades now, probably, which is algae. So the first thing I like to say is obviously the RM can't control for the entire lake. It's a huge place. And obviously the city has lots of responsibility to do. They have, like you said, they should be paying fines. They have their own remediation they should be taken care of. But I do think that the RM has its own contributions that it can make. And the reason why I think it's so important is because it affects us all. So first, like algae toxification, destroys the water, deoxygenates the water, it poisons local mammals, birds, fish, creates uninhabitable localized dead zones. And when we think of this stuff, we think of the oceans, we think much larger scale, but this is a very disastrous yet very real prospect for our community. And I think we should be very concerned about mitigating this potential. And secondly is, in many reports, we see that the effects ultimately end up in humans in the form of poisoning, disease. And so, like, even though commercial fishing may not be, I don't really know if it's a huge thing in the RM. I don't really keep track, or if the resale of fish is. I think some oversight needs to be employed to a certain degree with regard to how we want our local food sources to, and community health, as a matter of fact, to look in the future. And of course, the third thing is local economy. We benefit a lot from tourism. So over time, I think we're going to see this will probably have somewhat of a bearing on it. It might not be big, might be small, but I think it will be there somewhat. So I think in dealing with this, you have, well, especially if we were to get some sort of compensation in the province, like I don't know if that's going to happen, might happen probably many years down the road, as you were saying. I think you were saying to Wayne that you've been looking for compensation for many years now. Hasn't happened. But if we do, I think two things that we should look towards would be, well, the first would be phytoremediation, and that would be the use of aquatic plants with high phosphorus uptake. So basically just planting vegetation. Like you said, constructed wetland multi-ponds, that's a good idea, but I'm not sure where in the RM we would do that. So anyways, planting reeds, planting aquatic grass, planting spike rush are all shown to significantly reduce phosphorus content. I think it's cattails, like we have tons of cattails. They're found to reduce, I think they yield, they quote, yield an 84% removal rate. So we have like tons of those, easily locally sourced. Plant lots of those. And in terms of expanding and establishing planting zones, I think this could be done in the north and west facing bluffs between Sandy Bay and the pier. There's lots of areas, unbeached areas where that could be done. I realize there's probably logistical complications with getting the machines out there, especially when the water isn't frozen. I have to figure something out with regards to that. There's also the potential of expanding the west and east sides of Highway 59. Already have tons of cattails there. That could be expanded on. That would also help with removing algae. I would also point out that with regard to the first option, you could also include shoreline erosion management in that. You could, in addition to having cattails, grass, bulrushes out there, you could also anchor driftwood, you could have trees, you could have shrubs, you could plant at the base of the bluff. So you'd be not only having that mitigation of algae, but you'd also be preventing the potential runoff from the banks above it, from the erosion, and helping in dispersing the wave energy. And the second option, I'm not sure how great it's going to be, but is the deposition of natural and or chemical materials that bind to and remove algae particulates. So clay silts, surfactants, bacterial algicides. So the problem with this is that, well, it takes a lot less time. It would most likely be an annual commitment. So you'd be doing it at least every year. I believe the Winnipeg Lake Foundation has on their website long-term trends on when algae blooms occur. It's either in the spring and the fall or right in the middle of the summer. So anyways, if it was a year where it's in the spring and the fall, then in that case you'd be doing it twice. And of course, I don't think we want to be doing that. And then if it was in the middle of the summer, that would probably be mildly disruptive to tourism. So that's also a problem. So I'm not sure how far we would go with that. It would also require, I think, like lots of consultation with the province, with, again, Lake Winnipeg Foundation. So I think the real best option would be one, and just kind of going with that all natural approach. And so I guess those are just my recommendations. I hope you can perhaps look into it a little, because even if it isn't top of mind, I think it's gonna have some long-term effects that we might want to prevent rather than just kind of letting it run amok. Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more thing. I understand that you're looking for volunteers to reforest the cliff tops. Is that correct?
Reforest the cliff tops? No.
Oh.
It's not reforest. It's not reforest the cliff tops. It's to plant vegetation along and inside the toe to help to reinforce it and mitigate the erosion.
Okay. Sure. I was just going to say I'd be glad to help with that. Anyways.
I think Steve's been getting quite a few emails on that, so that's great.
And Steve, the big box of seats that you ordered is here at the municipal office.
I'm just wondering, Sean, if you've had a chance to look at the Red River Basin Commission website.
I have looked at some of this stuff in regards to shoreline management, with not yet about algae, so no.
Because the Red River Basin Commission started a Netley Marsh project. This was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the Netley Marsh, which in low water years, it tends to regenerate itself. But this is an island project where they basically grew this island, and they've got reeds and aquatic plants in it, and those plants soak up some of the phosphorus and some of the algae so that it doesn't trickle into the lake.
Yeah.
So, and they do lots of really good things, and it's a whole cross-border effort. There's it's the whole Lake Winnipeg watershed. So it includes Minnesota, North Dakota, a little bit of South Dakota, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. It's huge, and they do lots of really good things.
Yeah.
And Minnesota and North Dakota have put a lot of money and funds and effort into mitigating the phosphorus loads that come down the Red River and impact Lake Winnipeg. The Lake Winnipeg Foundation has a health plan on their website, and then the Lake Winnipeg Basin Program, which is federal. I'm not sure how active they are right now, but they've got some interesting stuff on their website as well. The other thing is, Lake Winnipeg is not our jurisdiction. So like you said earlier, it would be some conversations with the province and the feds, and it would be a project for sure. But we have, like Steve brought a motion forward at the AMM, Association for Manitoba Municipalities, several years ago. We got tremendous support from 137 municipalities to ask the province to help clean up the lake. So there are lots of initiatives on the go. Nothing really localized, as you say, at Victoria Beach. But, interesting conversation. Steve?
Mhm.
I mean, I think that Penny's largely sort of touched on everything, and especially in that there's really nothing that we could do. Sorry, my cat's meowing. That there's really not too much that we can do directly inside the water because that is federal.
Mhm.
The only thing that we really could do, not the municipality per se, but an individual could do would be to apply to the federal government to farm those cattails because while it's good that they remove the phosphorus, when they degrade, they also release some of it back into the water. So if there was somebody in the municipality who wanted to farm those cattails, aside from the fact that you can actually eat them, although I wouldn't because they absorb everything, is that you can use that for fertilizer. So you can actually sell the decomposed cattail matter as fertilizer. But aside from that, we're really limited as to what we could do.
Mhm.
All right, go ahead. All right, anything else? Thank you, Sean. That was great. We'll see what we can think about. It's a big project. I'm not so sure that residents would want to see us growing cattails in the lake.
Oh, no, well, of course not. No one wants to see that. Right?
Yeah, but it is an issue, and that sewage spill is I'm afraid it's going to have an impact.
So anyways, thank you for hearing my presentation. Hope you enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sean.
All right.
Is council up for a visual on this?
What do you mean?
230 million liters is approximately 8 acre feet of volume.
Okay.
So that's a foot deep, covering 8 acres is 230 million liters. So 8 acres squared is approximately 620 feet by 620 feet.
Okay. 8
Just
acres.
to help give you a visual.
Okay.
It's like it freaked me out when I did 230 million liters, but now I'm talking about it like this. So the volume of Lake Winnipeg is 284 cubic kilometers. So it's about 810,000 acre feet. So the spill in comparison to the volume of the lake, I'm not making any comment, I'm just presenting facts, is about 1/10,000th of a percentage of the volume. Plus it's got the whole river upstream, it's got the tributaries at the end coming to the lake. It's still absolutely horrendous. I'm not making any kind of comment, just I had to visualize it because I didn't know if it was going to take up half the lake or.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. It doesn't need to be coming into the lake, period.
No.
But yeah, thank you for that visual. I need
Every
it.
bit hurts.
Okay, thank you. All right, Napier Consulting for emergency management. Where did it go? Sorry. Here we go. Be it resolved that Yarmouth Victoria Beach Council accept the proposal from Napier Consulting for emergency management consulting services at a cost of $5,000 plus GST for a 1-year period, April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. May I have a mover? Graham. Thank you. Steve, second. Thank you. Any comments?
Well, I see that Shelley, bless her heart, has not raised her rates.
Yes, I know.
And it's,
This is a renewal, isn't it, Penny?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Steve?
There's few things that are as valuable to this municipality as her services. So she does an absolutely stellar job, and we owe her a very big debt of gratitude with everything she's been able to do for us.
I agree. All right. Anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Moving on to the sewage spill, which was added to the agenda. I think we've covered a lot of it, but
We've covered a great deal. I think what I was looking for, does this council have the will to put in writing to the federal government, the provincial government, to the city of Winnipeg, and express our concerns and encourage them to create a judicial review of the spill to determine what went wrong and find out what needs to be done to make sure it never happens again. I don't have a specific letter in mind, but if it is the will of council that we move forward, then I'd be happy to work on drafting a letter that we would be sending out. The second part of the program that I think needs to be looked at is we have a tremendous amount of political capital in terms of the residents of our community, some of which are permanent to Victoria Beach. The vast majority are probably permanent to Winnipeg. So we have an opportunity, if everyone were to get and prepare a letter to their MLAs, to their councillors, to their MPs, then we would let the powers that be know that Victoria Beach is really tired of having Winnipeg treat our lake as a giant septic tank. So we have the will to go forward and draft some documentation expressing our frustration and our concerns.
Thank you. Steve had his hand up.
Yeah, I mean, here's the actual reality. You know, we can do another letter. We can send it to the AMM. We can call on the federal government to do something. We can call on the provincial government to do something. At this point, here's the actual reality. Winnipeg has had calls from damn near everybody in this province to stop its ongoing pollution of the lake. This is not a one-off. They dump raw sewage in the lake all the time. When we put our motion forward, there was a promise that they would start to be held to account, and they never were. I hope that maybe this shock has been enough to make them realize it, but in all honesty, I don't believe it. I will believe it when Winnipeg finally solves the problem that they've had for over 21 years. I think they've been saying that they need to fix that North End treatment plant. So I don't think anything's going to change. I don't believe a word that Winnipeg says, with all due respect, when it comes to this issue, because they've been kicking the can down the road. The chickens have come to roost, and I don't think that they're going to change. I think that they're going to put another a little bit of sticky tape over top of it and just allow it to fester. So I don't mind going forward with a letter, but I don't know what good it's going to do. But if we actually talk about the reality of it, you know, Winnipeg accounts for anywhere between 5 to 10% of the pollution of the lake. Most of it actually does come from runoff from farmers' fields, and there's very it's a problematic solution in that you have to get a little bit of land. You have to compensate farmers for it. But Saskatchewan rather was able to fix their lakes. We just don't have the political will in this province to do anything about it. So I don't mind doing the letter. I think it's fine. I just don't see it's going to make a difference.
Well, it can't hurt.
Could you ask for like a damage report, like if they can test the river and test the lake? What have they done to remediate it? Can they do more maintenance, scheduling and planning of their main facilities?
Yeah.
If that, what exactly blew out on that? I mean,
It was
a large culvert or something? Or?
It was a sewage line.
Pipe just split.
Sewage pipe.
I mean, there's ways that they can monitor these conditions of these pipes. I mean, you know, just after something like that, rather than just.
Yep, and they were told that this pipe was going to fail, and they did nothing.
Oh, they were told.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I had a conversation about 6 years ago with the president of the AMM. I was that excited about it, got him on the phone. I suggested to him a class action lawsuit, but however many arguments we could gather together against the city of Winnipeg. Of course, they had to back away from that. They couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I just wonder if that's not a possibility, or at least the threat of it.
You'd have, that would be a fair undertaking.
Yeah, I can imagine what the legal bills would be.
Yeah.
That's one possibility, but I like Erwin's idea. I don't think we should just take this laying down. Maybe our voices will fall on deaf ears. I don't give a damn. We got to speak up to defend ourselves, and I'm sure we can get a lot of other municipalities to join with us in expressing our concern and demanding action. There's so many.
But we also have to engage our constituents.
Exactly.
We need their help on this one. Imagine what the lake is going to look like this summer.
Well, I mean, it's not the first time that this has happened, but it's a consistent.
This is the largest spill in recent history.
Yeah.
Ian had a comment.
Yeah, sorry, Ian.
Just a couple of points. I agree with Graham that you need to get other people involved. I don't think one letter is going to do the job. There are a number of people that were on the radio talking about this, the Broken Head community in South Beach and Gimli and Winnipeg Beach. You know, if you want to put a letter together, I think we should get some of these groups to all put a letter together. And I also think that, you know, if you could do that, get them all involved so that you've got all the communities involved in the letter, I think you could easily find a lawyer that would put a class action suit against Winnipeg, and they would their fee would be based on what they collect from Winnipeg. So it's just a percentage. So it doesn't cost us anything, but it's certainly, even if it didn't work, it would certainly make them realize that we're not going to take this anymore. So you're getting serious about putting some pressure on them with the lawsuit, and you're letting them know that this is not just Winnipeg or Victoria Beach that's upset. The whole community around the lake is upset. So, I mean, if you're going to make a stink about it, then that might have a bit more effect than just us sending a letter to somebody in the government.
We need to have an organized plan.
Okay, sorry, Steve had his hand up. Steve, you had your hand up, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, again, a letter is not really going to do anything. If we want to do something like that, then it'd be go to the AMM again. And I think especially after this one, like we would probably get an even better showing. If I recall, last time the only people who stood against our resolution was Winnipeg. I think Selkirk supported us. There was one or two other RMs I can't remember that they were a little bit hesitant to. But I mean, just to catch Ian up here, just to sponsor, this wasn't even the vote, but just to sponsor the resolution so we could get to the AMM. It was us. We had support from Alexander, Whitemouth, Powerview Pine Falls, Lac du Bonnet, East St. Paul.
Yeah, but the AMM, they would distance themselves from several municipalities leading on another municipality. They don't want to get involved in intermunicipal.
Yeah, but
they allowed it last time. And I mean, again, I think that we would get more support. But if we're going to do anything like that, that would be the way to do it. To write a letter is just like tossing dust in the wind. Like they honestly don't care.
Well,
could we get back for a moment to one of the items that Erwin was alluding to? Perhaps a draft template that we can recommend to our residents and constituents to send to the province. Here's a draft nasty letter to these people, and here's the addresses that it needs to go to. If you care,
organized lobbying.
yeah, that could be the nucleus. And if the various levels of government hear from thousands of residents in dozens of municipalities, can't hurt to try.
You know, there's an old saying, the person who speaks loudest gets to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they would have an emergency response plan for something like this? Like they expect us to have all these plans put in place? You would think that these facilities.
Well, they would pass it.
Well, if
they're required to have an emergency plan in place, how come they're not? And that's a big facility that's very risky to.
I think, you know, the reality is it's almost impossible to contain once it happens. That's
Well, it should be designed, or they could have mitigated by building something.
agreed. The contingency plans were not in place. They didn't have redundancy in their design. That's what's missing.
Steve?
I was going to say that as for what they can do, they can fix the West End treatment plant. That's what has been called for since day one. They can implement. There's a specific chemical. I forget. I don't recall what it was off the top of my head. That they can use.
Yeah, the Lake Winnipeg Foundation came up with
a temporary measure to be able to remove phosphorus from the effluent that they have going in. But ultimately, it comes down to punishing them And I would say, if anything, that would be the resolution that we would send to the AMM, calling for Winnipeg to start paying fines every time they dump raw sewage into the lake, which is every year.
Can we're just going around a little bit in circles here, so.
I think my question was, does this council have the will to put together a package that we would provide to our constituents to encourage them to let their elected officials know they're not happy? That's the basic question.
I'll answer that. Yes. I am.
Gentlemen?
Yeah, I'd get Blake Taylor involved and get him to send the letter out to different people. He's got a good group that he communicates with. And if we put the package together and send out the template, these people just have to put their name on it and send out letters. But I agree with Steve. If you want a punishment, you've got to get a lawsuit going. That's the only way you're going to get people's attention.
That would be part of the plan, to look into that. I don't know the mechanics of that, but I think it would.
Well, you just talk to a lawyer. We could talk to our lawyer. How do we go about getting a class action suit? Have them to go around, talk to the municipalities and see if they want to sign up for it. And then they'd say, fine, we'll take 30% of whatever we can get from them. And that's usually the way it works.
Excellent idea.
So you're going to head up this initiative,
I
Erwin?
volunteer.
Okay, thank
I've
you.
been thinking about it for a month now.
All right, thank
Who's gonna
you.
want to swim on our beaches?
Steve?
I'd only just point out that, like, our residents are very active on this already. So again, I have no issue with doing this. But
Right.
the other side of it too, though, is that it's only taking care of about 5 to 10%, if that ever does get fixed. It's only taking care of about 5 to 10% of that pollution. The vast majority comes from the farmers. It's not to blame anybody. That's just exactly what the science says.
All right. Good discussion. Thank you. We'll leave this in your hands, Erwin, to sort this out. Thank you. All right, under correspondence, information and announcements, the spring 2024 brush pickup notice. The RM brush pickup and shipping service will be provided during the following periods in the vehicle restricted area from June 20th. The gates will close for the VRA on June 20th this year. So starting the May long weekend until June the 16th. Please pile brush at the end of your driveway and Public Works staff will pick it up. Outside the VRA, pick up starting the May long weekend until June 22nd. So it's a few days after the vehicle restricted area. Please pile brush at the end of your driveway and Public Works staff will pick it up. If you can and are able, please help Public Works staff by trailering your brush and dropping it off at the fire hall. Your help is greatly appreciated. And we have a huge pile there, huge piles there right now that we're going to have to make a decision about what we're going to do about those. All right, anybody else have correspondence, information, announcements? Oh, Steve, then Ian.
It was just real quick on the brushing, just where a lot of that those wood chips came from. That was Manitoba Hydro who decided to plop them down there without letting us know.
They did let us know. They did let us know. Yeah, they had conversations with Public Works.
And they cut a lot of trees down in the public.
Yeah, and the trees were on our land.
Sorry, my fault. My understanding was that we didn't know. But anyway, the point is that if you call down to Randy, or you call down to any of the local contractors, then you can get them to bring over your wood chips if you want some. So please feel free to ask them to go get you some wood chips, because they will bring a whole heaping truck full to you. Please.
Okay, thank you. Ian, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just a question. I was wondering if the letter went out to Mr. Cameron and if we'd heard back from him on the issue.
He's willing to do whatever it takes to make everybody happy. I got him to speak to some of the residents, well, in particular, the one that had trees cut down. So they're speaking directly to see what they want to have done, and Graham sounds like he's willing to oblige. I'm going to follow up with them next week to see what they've done.
Is there a letter that's gone out to him though, Lon?
No, I just spoke to him on the phone and he was going to talk to the residents there to see what's going on.
Okay, because we should have a record of what we're asking him to do, which is replant trees, grind down all those stumps, and clean up the mess. It's those three things. But if it's a
Sure.
conversation, then it's not really going to get, we'll have nothing to fall back on when May comes along and we see that none of this stuff is done. So we should have a letter to just make it official that this is what we're asking him to do. It's not a question of him talking to some neighbor and saying, is this okay? We'd like to get that done. I think that's what
Well,
we
I wasn't
decided.
going to replant 4 trees if the resident wanted 10 or 12 or 20 planted. So I wanted them to figure it out. I asked the resident, I told him I would just be the middleman if he felt comfortable speaking directly with him. And he was comfortable speaking with him, so I was going to follow up with him. I can draft up a letter stating what the understanding is for this going forward, and I can have that to you guys out by the end of the week if they've talked.
Okay.
That'd be great.
That's good.
Thank you. Anyone else, gentlemen?
Steve,
Yes, just real quick, I just want to thank everybody who has emailed about making the seed bombs and is willing to help out with taking care of the seeds over the next summer. I'm going to get back to everybody when I sort of get everything perfectly in line so that we know exactly how to do this. And yeah, I just want to say thanks.
All right, and I just want to briefly say thanks to council and our CAO and our lead hand and our fire chief and our police chief for helping us get through 3 days of budget discussions. And Lon's going to be working on the budget and making sure we can get it out past first reading, maybe at the next council meeting. Then there's some advertising that has to be done before the financial plan can be presented. But I just want to thank you all for taking the time to make this happen. And we're meeting with the planner Thursday at 1 o'clock, and we're meeting with Yarmouth Alexander Council Friday at 1 o'clock at the fire hall.
the planner will be here, but I'll have a link for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be at the lake. All right, and thanks to Deputy Mayor Kumka, who will be filling in my absence the next council meeting.
Have an enjoyable vacation.
Thank you. We'll try. All right. Anything further, gentlemen? All right. Be it resolved, the March 5th, 2024 regular council meeting be adjourned, and the next meeting will be on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the East Beaches Social Scene, number 3 Atia Road. May I have a mover? Graham, thank you. Second, Ian, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you so much, gentlemen.